line. Go, go, go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Breakout Racing League ACC side of things. Tier 2 tonight for round 5 at Snetterton. We've been having some technical difficulties, to say the least, getting the server to work, so sorry for the 10-minute late stream, but we are here and hopefully we can get things going. We've had a 2-hour practice session, and in the past 5 minutes we've had to reset the server around 5 times now, so we're crossing our fingers here, hoping everything's working out, but we will have hopefully a total of 9 drivers here tonight. Not that many, but still enough to make an interesting race. It is going to be a 20-minute qualifying session with two 30-minute races. There it is right there on screen. 25-minute qualifying session with two 30-minute races, one mandatory pit stop, and a time multiplier of 8. So it's going to be an interesting race here. It's going to get cooler in the last 10 or so minutes, so they're going to have to set their tire pressure so they don't screw up their tires, or else they will be facing the consequences. As the first driver out is BRL Ardell in the Honda, as his teammate Axe F1 also hops in the Honda for this race tonight. Hopefully everyone is having a good night. I know I am. Semester just started back up for college, so I went back to class. It was okay, you know, just regular class. It wasn't too bad. But I'm definitely glad to be back home in my room streaming this for you tonight. I hope you all are doing well. This practice has just now ended, a rather short practice. As I mentioned before, we had a 2-hour practice and we just set it to 2 minutes so that way we can get to qualifying right away. So Ardell's just going out here for a reconnaissance lap. He's the only one out on track, and I presume he will remain the only one out on track as practice is officially over. Just now Ardell comes back into the pits, and qualifying is now officially started. As we currently have 8 drivers in at the moment, still waiting for our safety car to come into the server. Hopefully it can come in time. And let's see who will be first out on track. You can see some of the cars getting up in the air, changing their setup. I know some of these drivers did not get to save their setup from the earlier practice session, so we'll have to try and fix that. But the first driver out on track is GameStopper, one of the 2 Lexuses tonight, with Rush and the other at Lexus following him, with Mr. Pink right behind him as well. We're going to ride on board with GameStopper, his outlook a little bit, see what he does. Brakes hard and keeps it in 3rd gear for that corner. Don't get on that curving too much, or else it will spit you out. This rear brake steering wants to brake at this board right here. Yes, he does. He nails it. Gets to turn in. Don't turn in too much on that grass. You will get slowed down. Stays away from the outside curve. Doesn't want to have to deal with any bumpiness going on. He brakes here hard into 2nd gear. Cuts the inside a little bit to get better rotation. Brakes here. Quite late, actually goes down the 1st gear, shaves off a lot of speed. And then here, let's see, does he shift down to 2nd? Yes, he does. Gets on the brake, Don't extend too much here, or else you will go into the grass. Does not do so. He will be the first one out to set his flying lap, as Ardell's had a moment in the second sector. He brakes up here. He's going to brake again. Fasten the brakes, down the first gear. Get on the power as soon as you can. Just a little lift off here. Get back on the power after you get up the hill. And then through this long right-hander, you're going to have to lift about halfway through and then get it back on again. And just fiddle with the throttle ever so slightly. Brake hard for this little hairpin and come out onto the front straight. He now powers across to the finish line to start his flying lap. I'll go ahead and shut up now so you can hear this lovely Lexus engine purr. Is now game start. It's going to come across the line. What will the time be? It will be a 50.9. A decent banker for the Lexus driver. Next across the line will be Rush in the Ferrari, with LDR Redeemer following close behind. He is 7/10 off. Redeemer, he's been fast all session in practice, and he goes up to a 49.8. And Mr. Pink, one of his championship rivals, is right behind him. What can he do? It will be his start to his flying lap, so we'll actually go ahead and watch his lap unfold. That is a yellow flag. That is Rush returning to the pits. Yeah, definitely Radicus. Respect to these guys for showing up. I know Tier 2 attendance has not been its bright spot over these past 5 races, but they still show up and they still provide us with some great racing, especially for the fight in the championship between Redeemer and Mr. Pink and Mr. Titan. So the fact that they still show up for these races when they know the attendance isn't what is to be desired, it's really nice to see. But a bit of a trivia for you all. Tier 1 was not streamed last night again, sadly, but something to note is that the Porsche was very quick around this track. I know I was fighting my good friend TTM John in Tier 1. He was in the Porsche last night with Radicus and Chat. He was also in the Porsche. They managed to get a 1-3 in both those races with me in second, splitting the both of them. And I have to say, those Porsches were mighty fast on this track. It really suits the Porsche well. Can't do much for overtaking unless someone makes a mistake, and that goes for all the cars, because this track is pretty much impossible to overtake without someone messing up. But if the Porsches get a run in a braking zone, they will try and make that move, and they are very good on the brakes. So Mr. Pink's gonna have to be someone to watch out for if he can nail this track together with his Porsche, along with Dallas 443. I think this might be his first race in Breakout Racing League, at least in ACC. But in practice, I know I didn't stream that for y'all. I apologize, but I know in practice that he was very fast. He was first before the practice session ended, a couple tenths ahead of LER Redeemer, our championship leader. So he's definitely someone to look out for. He's definitely caught my eye in the practice session, and will be interesting to see if he can repeat that in qualifying. And meanwhile, as I was talking, Mr. Pink went up to third place with a 51.2. About a second and a half off of LDR Redeemers. Redeemers showing his pace fast and early in this session with 18 minutes left. So it's going to be interesting to see if people can get up to speed with him. Because if they're not careful, he will just use that momentum with that big gap and use that as a measuring stick to keep on improving that gap, because he knows the likes of Mr. Pink, Mr. Titan, who's not actually here tonight unfortunately, but crucially his teammate GameStopper and Dallas 443 in the Porsche are going to be the ones to possibly challenge him here tonight. Yeah, Marshall, I definitely agree. I do love the sounds in ACC. They are definitely something to behold, and a lot of people agree with that. That's one of the many reasons people love ACC is the sounds. They're so realistic compared to F1 in 2021. It's definitely one of the reasons why I love the game. Of course, the sim racing part of it is also a major point of interest. Oh, is Mr. Pink drifts? Can he save it? No! He's in the grass. Oh, that's good to know for him. He'll definitely put that in the back of his head and make sure he doesn't do that in the race. As he returns to pits, as GameStopper found 3 tenths and goes a bit quicker. But yeah, Mr. Pink will definitely internalize that and use that as a reference for the race so he doesn't do that. As Redeemer goes even quicker for 49.1, possibly dipping into the 48s for this qualifying session. We'll have to wait and see. Pole for Tier 1 last night was a 46.8. by TTM John in the Porsche, myself in second with 47 flat. So these guys are a little bit off of that pace, but I noticed that in the closing stages of the qualifying session last night, the last 10 or so minutes, the track really started to ramp up. So it's really going to be, I think pole could really be decided in the last 10 minutes here. We'll have to wait and see. But the pace is looking pretty good so far for these two Tier 2 drivers, at least within the top 2. We're still waiting for both Hondas to set their laps. It'll be interesting to see what they can do, as they don't have their lead driver, Mr. Titan, with them tonight. It will just be Vera Ardell and Axe F1. As Rush goes up to third place with a 50.6. Ardell is now starting his lap. Oh, your shift lights work. That's a nice touch for sure. I myself have what is this? I forget what it's called. The G920, whatever it's called. Yeah, the old Logitech. It's a bit of a noisemaker, but it gets the job done enough. Although I will say the force feedback it definitely leads more to be desired, but that's what you get when you get a starter wheel. But one day I plan to get a Fanatec, one day. That is the dream. Zardell is now braking heavily for this corner. He's going to try and launch it off. He has to lift off and go back into second gear quickly. And then he will just launch it onto this back straight. Indestructible G920. You're not wrong. I have bashed it a couple times, more than a couple times, and it has not failed me. Oh, Zardell really hops the Sasha's curve. That's going to pretty much ruin this third sector, if not his entire lap. He's currently 4 seconds off? Is that 4 seconds off of his 2-minute 4? If so, he's definitely going to have to find a lot of time. Would not be surprised if Ardell hasn't done much practice for tonight's race, because he is really struggling with this track. I know myself, going into this race last night, I absolutely hate this track. I still kind of do, but I do know that practice really helps, especially on ACC. I started practicing for this track a little bit on Saturday, trying to figure my way around it. And on Sunday, I did some more practice, and then I really unlocked the pace in qualifying, just as qualifying got underway. So it could come to Ardell. He's currently 5 seconds off the pace, but only 6 milliseconds, 6 thousandths of a second off of his teammate XF1. So they've definitely got way more time in the tank here. The gap in Tier 2, the field spread is not that huge. So they just have to really nail a lap together and they'll be fine, I'm sure. Because he's already 8 tenths up, 9 tenths up. Can he get a second? He's going down to first gear. I'm seeing a lot of these drivers in Tier 2 going down to first gear. That's not necessarily the gear you want to be going down to for that corner. I think they need to be slowing down more for that corner than they really do. I know I myself, when I was practicing, thought I had to really slow down for that corner, but you really don't. You really can just take it in second gear and cut that inside curbing and get the exit. As you see Ardell have a bit of a moment. Thankfully, he does not hit the sausage curve this time. He will instantly find more time. However, he definitely knows there's a lot more time in this lap, because he knows he's not 5 seconds off of the leader's pace. Across the line, he's gonna go up. Still saying 6th place, but he found a second, as that was a very interesting place to park the car. But we move. Redeemer's in the 48s now, 48.4, sorry. So that is his best lap so far. And a very good lap, I must say, for Tier 2. He is absolutely dominating. The only one who was looking to challenge him in practice was Dallas, who was still in the pits. I might add, as there's only 11 minutes left in the session, so hopefully he gets out, because at this point, it's just going to be a Redeemer's show. And then the likes of GameStop for Rush and Mr. Pink fighting over second, at least in qualifying here. When I say that, Mr. Pink is a second up. Down 9 tenths. He's gonna have to find some magic here in this last braking zone. Really hugs the inside coming up to the corner. It's not necessarily the best route, but it's working for him as he's found a 10 coming out of the final corner. This will put him at about 1.5 seconds of Redeemer. Yep, 1.5 seconds. So he's now up to P2. Very decent time for the Porsche drivers. Look at the brake bias on that Porsche, 49.6. Now, I don't know a lot about Porsche setups. I can't drive the thing, even though I love the sound, but that is pretty darn low. I know in the Audi, it is, around this track at least, I was running 62.4 brake bias, so that is something to behold. That is a stark contrast in car design, in particular regarding the brakes, but hey, that's Porsche magic for you. As Mr. Pink is still improving. Oh, he's going to go a bit wide. That's going to cost him time pretty much no matter what he does. He loses about 2 tenths. He just pretty much lost all his time, but he's going to gain it back. He's lift off slightly to make the corner, but he's still back. He's gained back his time. Lost a little bit. Does he gain anything out of the exit? He gains a tiny bit. That'll help with the acceleration. So far, it looks like he probably got like at least 3 or 4 tenths in this lap in the first 2 sectors. He just has to nail it. Straight on the power, pretty much automatically coming out of that corner. Gonna lift off here, then get back on the power as soon as possible. Switch this up to 4. Gonna have to lift off eventually. He's getting very loose, I can see it, but he manages to hold onto the car. It's a little bit early, but it's going to get the way much better exit, and he's 6 tenths up, 6.5 tenths up, going on 7 tenths, so he's definitely going to be contending for pole position, considering he lost, I'd say he lost about 5 tenths in the first 2 sectors alone, so Redeemer's going to have to go back out there sooner or later because I think Mr. Pink is on the hunt. He wants his pole position. Well, it's normal brake fires for the Porsche. Yeah, I assume so. Maybe that's why you guys are so good on the brakes. Mr. Pink is already 2 times up. Now this corner. It's still hairpin, but not as tight as you think it'd be. Just have to watch out for the outside curve, which he has done. He's now only 4 tenths up. I don't go wide here. It's a pretty decent run. Now you got to brake just after these boards. Just on the first gear. So a lot of drivers do that, as I said earlier. He gets a lift off here again. He gets a bit in the grass. Ooh, there's a bunch of lag going on. It's not what you like to see. Hopefully that fixes itself. I think it just has. He's nearly 4 tenths up on his lap. But again, he's definitely could see him struggling a bit in that second sector. There's still a huge amount of time for him to climb through that sector. This corner is going to go a bit. No, it keeps it on the track. And it's actually found him a lot of time. It was definitely a bit of a mistake, but it's not stopping him from finding a bunch of time. And it's not stopping the game from lagging and sending him into the air for a few seconds there. He actually goes up to 5th gear. Very interesting choice of gearing for this long corner. When he goes down to 1st gear, gets on the power pretty much automatically, but he almost spins out, and that has pretty much ruined chance at pole. He was 8 tenths up for a split second there. He was now only going to get 3 tenths, but he's still finding time. This is the momentum I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning my qualifying session. That as long as you can get the momentum around this track, do like 3 really good hot laps, you braked really late for that corner. Yeah, that's gonna be him off 100%. I was about 100 meters too late, but like I said, if you can string a few good laps together and just keep hammering away at the times, you will get faster. We saw that from Mr. Pink in those 3 or 4 laps we just watched with him. Redeemers? Oh, he's coming out now. He's responding to Mr. Pink. Maybe he was watching Mr. Pink's on board. Maybe he was watching the stream. Or maybe he was just noticing the gap coming down. He says, I gotta defend my pole position. He slows down for Tamer Ox coming through on his lap. He's currently 2.8 seconds off the pace in the Audi. Audi feels pretty good around here with a good setup, so be in the running for some solid points here. Pretty much everyone's in the running for points here. Something to note, Dallas still not set a lap. He's still in the pits. Kind of a shame. I was hoping it would get him pole. That would have been pretty cool. Oh, Tamer goes wide and he's off. He's spinning around. Hopefully he doesn't hit anyone, so that's good. But yeah, oh, Dallas is coming out now. He must have heard my calls from the heavens. He's coming out. Keep an eye out for him. I'm gonna go on board with following our film. That is GameStop. Stop for improvement? Nope, this is his outlap. Moving out of the way. There we go. It's very nice of him. Go for our outlaps. That was Rush. Is Rush improving? Oh, he's also on his outlap. I guess we'll go ahead and watch Rush. Currently, Mr. Pink is better than you on the brakes, or if he's better than you on the brakes, he's obviously doing something wrong. Because he's in tier 2. Oh, bird! Nah, I'm just kidding. We love you, Mr. Pink. You're making this title fight interesting. But anyways, here's Mr. This is not Mr. Pink, this is Rush in the Ferrari. He gets really squirrely coming out the final corner. There's 4.5 minutes left in qualifying. That leaves you cross the line now, which Rush is doing. That'll leave you with maybe 3 laps. More like, yeah, maybe 3 laps. He might get away. No, probably 2. But for everyone else, we're going to be looking around in the next, oh, I don't know, 40 seconds. If the cross within the next 40 seconds, so we're looking at about 2 laps. I think a good chunk of the people on track right now should get 2 laps in at least. Rush is currently 3 tenths up. Make it 4 tenths. Coming down to this tight hairpin. Does he nail the brakes? As he does. Don't brake too hard or else you will lose the car. Turning, get on the power as soon as you can. Not a terrible exit by any means as they get on the brakes here as he does, only slightly. That is the way around. The brakes here just after the brake boards. Goes a bit wide, that's going to hurt his exit. It's going to be struggling with traction. Does he take it in second? Yes, he does. He gets on the brakes a little bit, trying to let the car roll through. Exit was slightly worse off than his previous best, but he's still going. Fury brakes here. It's a very tricky braking zone if you don't know what you're doing. But he's just about got it. He had to get on the brakes. He was on the brakes for a bit too long there. It's not going to help him. He's currently lost about 2/10. It's off the gas, gets back on, goes a bit wide. The lap is still valid. Keep pushing, goes down to third gear. So he can get on the power more, have more revs, carry way more speed in this downhill section. Brakes hard for this corner. Goes down to first gear. Bit squirrely on that curbing right there. You don't want to touch too much of the curbing, but it's not going to stop him from being nearly 6/10 up, which will put him P3, crucially ahead of GameStopper in the Lexus. That is his lap done. This is LDR Redeemer. I believe he's 5/10 down on his PV, so we will go watch. That is XF1. Is he improving on his lap time? Oh, he's 8/10 up, but this lap is invalid. Here comes GameStopper. Is he improving on his lap? He is. He's only a 10.5 up though, so we'll improve on his position. Because don't know if Dallas will get 2 laps in. I know he would definitely like to get 2 laps in, if not always pitting anyways. And he wouldn't have got 2 laps in, so he will be starting from the back of the grid. Unless someone gets a grid penalty, which I don't even think we can do in ACC. Yeah, it's his qualifying over. He went out in the last few minutes here and did not work out at all. The track was certainly ready for him, as Redeemer was not ready for that curbing, as that sent him off, and his lap is invalid. Now he's going to still have one more lap. He can slow down if he wants, cool down his tires, cool down his brakes, and his screws if he wants. I don't think he's going to do that, but he could. I believe everyone out on track will still have enough time for one more lap. Yes, they will. Everyone on track will have time for one more lap. Watch Rush. Oh, Rush is going way too wide. That's going to completely ruin his start of the lap, and he's coming into the pits. Yes, he is. As that's his spin. That's Ardell. He's into the pit. That's his qualifying over. Improving on the lap. Oh no, GameStopper he was 5/10 up. It would have put him P3, but he is done and out of qualifying, so he will remain P4 unless XF1 wants to find a huge amount of time. He's 1.1 seconds up, 1 second up. It's not going to be an improvement on position, but for pride it will be a second improvement, and he's almost beaten Tamer to that 5th place on the grid. But he's clear ahead of his teammate, so he can take some pride in that. He's beating his teammate. Wow, last man on track. He'll be setting a lap, well, other than Axe, but more importantly, Redeemer. Old man by nearly almost 5.5 tenths to the closest man behind him, Mr. Pink. Currently about a 10th up. He doesn't have to do this lap unless Axe manages to find 3 seconds, but at the moment he has pole pretty much secured, but he still wants to improve. On his 48.5. He wants to prove to himself that he could go faster. He can't go faster. It goes really wide there, and he's spun it around. He broke it too late, and the Lexus said, "Stop it right here. We're doing a loop-de-loop. We don't like that here." And what is Axe F1 doing? He's our last driver. Oh, he's loose. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Let's go on over at that point. May not be able to see his actual improvement delta, but we'll still watch this lap. Let's get some action on the track before we head into the race. I believe it'll be. Oh, he goes really deep here, and yeah, that's a small one over. So the grid is set. LDR Redeemer, your championship leader, is on pole by nearly 5/10 of a second to Mr. Pink in second. Third is Rush, a very good qualifying for the Ferrari driver. Game Stopper, Redeemer's teammate, is fourth, nearly 1.7 seconds off, with Tamer and Ag separated by less than a tenth of a second. They're about 3 seconds off. Ardell, 4.5 seconds off. He is the last qualifier to have actually set a time with Dallas, and last, as I said, not setting a time. And Gucci Lucci, your safety car for tonight's race, did not set a time, of course, as he is a safety car. I believe this will be about a 2-minute, 3-minute wait for the race, as we do have a cooldown period in the qualifying session, and then another 2 or 3 minute cooldown just before the formation lap goes underway, so drivers can get their setups on, go to the bathroom if they need to, get a snack, drink some water, whatever you got to do. Hello, Phantom. I see you in the chat shouting out Redeemer. He's been doing very well in ACC Tier 2. He's championship leader, as I've mentioned before. And he's just really showing his consistency. He's been doing really good work here in the tier. That's definitely for sure. As our drivers are now on the grid, ready to go. I want to go. I can't go on board with the leader. We'll have to wait until the race starts. Yeah, about a minute and 40 seconds left in this cooldown period, and then about another 20 seconds until the drivers cross the finish line, and we'll be off. Any predictions in chat before the race starts? I personally think Redeemer is gonna. I won't say cruise, but I think he will win this race. Only, no offense to the other drivers, but I think the only ones who can really challenge him based off the practice times and the qualifying pace would be a man sitting alongside him, Mr. Pink in the Porsche, and Dallas in the other Porsche starting in last place, as the other drivers have not seemed to have shown the pace compared to the leaders, so it'll be an interesting race for sure. As we have one pit stop in a 30-minute race, so they're going to be pitting quite soon, probably about 15 minutes here. Some people will try the overcut, some will try the undercut. I know from my personal experience, the undercut can work quite well here, even only a lap, especially if you're trying to undercut someone who's just caught up to lap traffic. That definitely makes a big influence in the outcome of pit stops here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, as we only have 20 seconds left in this cooldown. Drivers are now making their way to the grid. They're going to be warming up their tires, warming up their brakes, warming up everything, making sure they're on the right engine maps, brake bias is set properly. They do not want to mess up this first corner. It is a long one. You know, you're only tapping the brake a little bit, and then you're just waiting for the tires to grip up, and so you can launch yourself into the next corner. As we are now getting ready for the start, they're making their way up to the finish line. We will see when Redeemer goes. You will see XF1 accelerate with the rest of the field. When will they go? They will go now. They're going now. Green, green, green. We are racing. We have the two leaders going side by side, and Rush is going to pile into the back of GameStopper, and that is GameStopper spun around in the first corner. But we're not going to focus on that right now. He's going to have to make his way back to the field. Speaking of making their way through the field, that is Tamer from 5th to 3rd in the span of about 3 corners. Meanwhile, Dallas has made up 1 place, trying to make up 2. Almost goes down the inside of Axe. It's going to compromise his run. And it's going to let Axe breathe for a little bit. But we have our top 2 maintaining position. Redeemer going a bit deep there. That's a huge send from Ardell. He's off the track. Made some contact with Rush, and Axe almost loses a car, I think. Just about keeps it on the road. And, they almost made contact. There's contact between Dallas and Axe. Dallas is, no, he couldn't save it. He is also off. No sign of a safety car yet, though. So our drivers will keep going as they are. Redeemer maintaining the lead, avoiding all that chaos. Perks of being in the front row, you can really dictate the first corner and mostly stay out of trouble, because it's not Monza, it's not just a chicane. That's Axe! It's spinning out of the corner. I don't know the name or the number, but I know it's definitely corner. It's kind of misleading with that outside curb there. There's some grass right next to it. You have to be very careful, and Axe, unfortunately, has bit the guardrail, and that is going to be a very poor first lap from the Honda driver. It's definitely not what he'd be thinking would happen, especially after coming out of the first corner in P5. The lane is now open. Top 3 is now currently Redeemer, Mr. Pink, and Tamer in the Audi, taking a very good start, and Rush in P4, losing only 1 position, but he's got some damage, and hopefully it doesn't affect him too much. We can see the top 4 in 1 frame. There are really no close fights on track as of right now. Those incidences have definitely hurt these opening few laps, because it would have been great to see some close fighting these first few laps. But now it's a long race, really, and these drivers will have to be using everything in their power to try and close these gaps, because there are quite a few of them, and they're gonna have to try even harder to pass these drivers all around them. You can already see Redeemer stretching his legs. The gap is actually come down a little bit in the second sector. It was 1.6 to Mr. Pink. It's now 1.3, but that Porsche is very, very poor in a straight line, I must admit. I'm just going up against the Lexus, one of the fastest cars on the straight in the game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Mr. Pink handles that Lexus if he does catch the Lexus. This Tamer is about 3 seconds back from Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink makes a huge mistake. He spun around. Gets it back on the track, though. Avoids any contact with his fellow drivers. But that is a huge, huge mistake from the Porsche driver. Ardell is drifting around the penultimate corner here. GameStopper is right behind him. Ardell gets a snap as he tries to correct the car, and Ardell messes up again, and GameStopper has nowhere to go but the gearbox of the Honda driver. He's still trying to get past the Honda driver. This has not worked out for GameStopper at all after starting in P3. He's now down to P6. Extended up the inside. He's going to break very late. He's going to have the run. Ardell is going to have to give it up. Once he tries to switch back, he's thinking about it. Not going to be able to get the move done. Old game stopper goes really wide here. But Ardell himself makes a scruffy exit out of the corner. He will not be challenging game stopper for the time being. Ooh, someone's going side by side. I think we might catch it on this camera angle. I don't know if they're going side by side, but I know Dallas is right behind Ardell. Use a helicopter cam here to watch this fight progress. Deemer crosses the line to start lap 3 of this race. Oh, and here goes Dallas up the inside. Ardell went a bit wide. That should be move done, unless Ardell braves it around the outside. No, he doesn't, but Dallas goes really wide, really deep. But Ardell's going to get on the grass, and it's going to really hurt his exit. Porsche definitely struggles on a straight, but it won't struggle that much. Ardell's going to have to sit behind as the Porsche driver for the time being. I'd be impressed if he manages to take a whiff. The Porsche, as I've just jinxed him, he's gone into the grass. And that is going to cost him a huge amount of time. Not that last XF1 pitted. I missed that, I apologize. But yeah, he's pitted. So his pit stop is done. So if there's a safety car, he could make his way back in this race. For the time being, it is Honda's dead last, 7th and 8th place for this race so far. We're not going to ride with Rush and Tamer in their fight for 2nd place. This is the other fight on track. And now that Ardell is out of the fight with Dallas, we will now focus on these two. And there's Mr. Pink with GameStopper. They're trying to catch up to these two. And Dallas just in the background. I could just see him. Yeah, Redeemer probably could spin a couple times. He looks like he had the pace over pretty much everyone except Mr. Pink and Dallas, the two Porsches, and they're in the trenches right now. They're not even on the podium at this time, and they've made quite a few. Well, mainly Mr. Pink's made his one big mistake. GameStopper had some contact early on, and Dallas just did not set a qualifying last, so we had to start from the back. So he's making his way through the field. He's making his life difficult, but if he wins or gets a podium or even just scores, we'll have points. And speak of the devil, that is not Redeemer, that was Axe, I believe, who just spun out and has now left the session, and both Hondas have left now, so they are officially out of this race. They will not be scoring points. That is definitely going to hurt them as instructors, but it's not going to stop Rush from trying to make a move from Tamer. On Tamer, he's not going to get distracted as Tamer gets a bit distracted, gets a bit nervous with the Ferrari right behind him. Gap's 2/10 coming onto the back straight, but I don't think the Ferrari's going to have enough top speed to try and get past. It's about, what is that, 5/10 quicker than... Whoa, where's Redeemer? Redeemer's been disconnected! Oh my gosh! He was having issues all throughout practice and qualifying, and he's been disconnected from the session. Ardell was back in the session. Maybe he never left. Maybe Ardell never left and I just see him. But Redeemer is gone. I don't really know why Axe left. Although I think he did say he had hockey practice, so maybe that's why he left. As Tamer goes off, and that was for the lead. This isn't for second place now. This is for the lead, and he's just let it go. And Rush almost lets it go. It goes pretty wide there. And now you've got GameStar going up the inside of Tamer, and Redeemer's back out. If he comes out the pits like right now, he won't technically be allowed down, but it's going to be a very arduous race for the Lexus driver. But thankfully he still has another race, so he doesn't have to really worry about it too much. He can still score big points here, as that is Ardell who spun around in the infield. Thankfully he's not near anyone, so it won't cause any sort of issues. But yeah, very unfortunate for Redeemer, leading this race easily, looking like he would take the win here. But that disconnect has unfortunately left him scarred, and Mr. Pink has been scarred, going wide at the final corner. So is Tamer. He's also gone wide. We're gonna watch this from the helicopter cam and see if GameStar can get this position. It looks like he might just about do so. Should have it done. Yes, he will. Don't go wide here like me and screw up a chance at the win. He does not, and he will get that P2. And now Dallas and GameStar were going to side by side. I said watch out for Dallas, and I've been proven right so far this race. He's now going to get past the Audi driver. Porsche is very good on the brakes around here, especially in the second sector, and it is showing. I'm gonna go on board with Mr. Pink and watch him try and hunt down and possibly re-overtake GameStopper, or maybe just use GameStopper as a sort of pulley system, just pull him along to get onto the rear of Rush. The gap is not that big. It is only about 1.5 seconds between GameStopper and Rush, and 5 times between GameStopper and Mr. Pink, with Dallas only 2 seconds behind. So Dallas is definitely trying to get this win. Redeemer is pretty much out of the picture unless there's a safety car. It has to be a pretty long safety car. I don't think we're going to get a safety car long enough for Redeemer to get his lap back, as he is 2 laps. No, I think he's only 1 lap down at this point. So it's going to be a very tough race for Redeemer. But he's got his teammate in the other Lexus trying to get a possible win here, at least the podium, as that's GameStopper into the pits. It is the pit window. We are about halfway into this race, and GameStopper is pulling the undercut along with Dallas. You have to be very mindful of this pit lane. I learned the hard way last night's race. This pit lane is very, very bumpy. It's kind of dumb how bumpy it is. You think they would fix that somehow, but they have to be careful. But it seems they've maneuvered it fine. For now, going to get a nice aerial shot. No, we're gonna say screw the aerial shot. Go back to Mr. Pink. Watch this fight. Also keep an eye out on the pit stops to see when the 2 drivers start moving. Camera angle is not working. You love to see it. There we go. And that is the 911 of Dallas. I believe he's coming out ahead of GameStopper. Yes, he is. GameStopper must have been in to fix that damage. Yes, you can see it on his front bumper. He's definitely fixed that damage. As Dallas has a stop-go of 30 seconds. Wow, that is pretty much ruined his race now. He needs a safety car at this point. You're not gonna make up 30 seconds in 15 minutes. That's only around. That's not a long time at all. It's only what, 7 laps, 8 or 9 laps. So yeah, that's his race pretty much done. He can. I don't know. I don't know if you can serve. If you have to serve that stop-go within the next 3 laps. If not, he can just run long and just hope there's not a safety car. Is that Mr. Pink? He spun round. He has spun right around at the final corner. Tamer's coming in, and Mr. Pink is coming in as well. So that is really... Oh, as he hits the wall. Oh, that's not what you'd like to see. And that is going to pretty much ruin any chance of an overcut working. He's going to have to... He's hit the wall. He's lost time. He's spun. If he repairs that damage, it's going to be even more time lost. These pit stops have been quite frantic in these last 2 laps. I believe GameStopper might come out in the lead. It's going to be close between him and Rush. He goes really well, takes too much speed, and he's in the grass. I jinxed him. I'm sorry, guys. I'm jinxing everyone tonight. That's GameStopper's chance of coming out in the lead gone. Redeemer's not ahead of him. Still up down, but Redeemer has got ahead. Does Rush start moving yet? No, he's just got off the jacks. He should be moving now. Tamer almost gets ahead. They're both struggling with grip. As I said, it's very bumpy in that pit lane. Tamer's just going to come out ahead of Mr. Pink. And here comes GameStopper. Not even at the final corner. Now he is, and he's lost a heap of time in this outlap. And it's pretty much ruined any chance of him coming out ahead. Look at this top 3. Oh, look at Mr. Pink. He's got the much better run out of the corner. He's going to try to make a move. Tamer's going to squeeze him. Too wide here. He's going a bit wide, but he's still got the position for now. Dallas is in, serving that stop-go. Very unfortunate for his race. He's looking very pacey, and Tamer goes way too late on the brakes, and that's Mr. Pink back ahead. Mr. Pink should have had this lead in the bag until that spin earlier on as he goes wide here. Oh, don't lose the car on the curb, but he keeps it. Mr. Pink keeps it, thankfully. Tamer tries to go around the outside. But yeah, Mr. Pink should be ahead of all these guys, but mistakes were made as Mr. Pink did not change his tires. Mr. Pink did not change his tires. He has to pit again. He must have only put fuel in the car. Oh my gosh. Oh, Mr. Pink. You have to pit, my friend. You have to change those tires. Oh my gosh. That's Ardell coming out just ahead of Dallas in the Porsche. Mr. Pink is not going to be fighting for this win unless he gets a safety car in the next 2 minutes, as the rules are in Breakout Racing League. No safety cars after 10 minutes are left in a race in ACC, so unless someone makes a huge mistake in the next 1 minute and 50 or so seconds, then there's no safety car to bail out Mr. Pink or Redeemer. Or really any of the drivers who have made mistakes, which pretty much they all have except for Rush. So kudos to Rush and Tamer. They've pretty much been mistake-free. The only fight on track was between Dallas and Ardell. Redeemer is now pitting, so he will pretty much finish P7. There's really nothing stopping him from getting P7 unless someone makes a huge mistake or just leaves the session. Oh, Zardel's going into the grass. It won't really matter though, unless the Porsche is sensitive to the inside. No, he's gonna back out and try and make Ardell make a mistake. He gets way too much on that curbing. Gonna be a little bit more careful there, or else you will get sent into the grass. And look how much better that Porsche is on the brakes. So much better. You're gonna get the much better exit out of the corner, but Ardell will just about keep ahead of the Porsche driver for now. So we have to watch out. The Porsche is looking very, very fast, very aggressive. Definitely wants his P5. Rush just now crosses the finish line. Mr. Pink still staying out. He's gonna have to pit, or else he won't be disqualified, I don't think, but he will get at least 60 seconds worth of time penalties, because it takes about a minute and 10 seconds for a pit stop. So he's going to have to pit unless he wants to face the consequences of getting some major penalties. Yeah, this is the only fight on track currently. P5, P6, Honda v Porsche, as Ardell goes really wide, and now Ardell has lost the position. Now I'm going to go to the replay because I completely missed it. I don't know how, but I did. Axe's AI, invisible to the naked eye unless we go on the replays, I guess. Alright, let's go wide here. No, it keeps it on the track. Oh, it goes really wide here, and that's just Dallas up a position, easy as pie. I don't think that's the same. Easy as pie? No, that's not the same. Definitely not the same. Well, either way, Ardell is now down to P6, and he will be cursing himself for that mistake. This rush is being caught up by Mr. Pink, but Mr. Pink still has to pit. He still has to pit. This gap is 2.3, so he's lost about 5/10 in the last sector. Meanwhile, Tamer and Game Stopper are having a little scrap here. Oh my gosh, look at the brakes on that Lexus. So much better than Tamer on the brakes in that corner. He's gonna go left. He's gonna go left. He's gonna go around the outside. Don't make call just a tiny bit. Never hurt anyone. That's completely fair. A little bit of door banging. This is an F1. This is GT3 racing. It's completely fine. Fighting for the last podium spot. The Audi versus Lexus battle, and the Audi goes really wide. Lexus is gonna go down the inside. The Audi could try and go for the under and over, but he's going to try and go long. Gets on the grass a little bit, but that's not going to stop. Oh, but he screws up. Gets a little bit of understeer, I think, and just had to correct the car, and that completely ruined his run as he's on. What is that? He's currently in 4th place at the moment, so he's still getting a top 4 at this moment, so nothing to laugh at. Definitely a good position. Mr. Pink still is not pitted. I do not know why, but he's not pitted. Maybe on his screen it showed that he changed the tires, and maybe the screen's just being dumb. We'll have to find out later, but at the moment he will not be finishing P2. He'll be finishing probably around P4, maybe P5. Redeemer's getting P6, unless Dallas wants to make a huge mistake and lose just about a lap worth of time. As we have Rush still leading this race. This will be his first race win in BRL ACC, and it will definitely be I'd say it's a worthy one. I know we've had a lot of mistakes from our usual front runners on the grid, but Rush has stayed consistent. He's been out of most of the incidents, except making contact with GameStopper in the first corner on the first lap. But other than that, he's been very clean. Now he just has to keep on the track for about the next 6 minutes here, about 3 or 4 laps, and he will have this win in the first race. Still have one more after this, another 30-minute race. and then we will have the post-race interviews with the podium sitters from both races.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
We are now on the final lap of the race. Mr. Pink is still not pitted, but that's not stopping him from applying the pressure to Rush. But I don't really know why he hasn't pitted. Maybe on his screen it shows that he's pitted, but he's still, like I said, he's going to be applying the pressure this last lap. He's been closing the gap the last 2 or 3 laps here, and he's right behind as they both get a bit squirrely out of the corner. If he send it inside or try and get a better run out of this corner. Can't really go side by side at this next corner. Rush does not get the better exit, is going to stick behind for a little bit longer. Oh, but Rush goes really wide. But I don't think Mr. Pink is close enough. No, he's not. He might scare Rush into going deep. In fact, Rush has gone deep. Give me a different camera angle, game. Thank you. Here comes Mr. Pink. Oh, he doesn't really get the best run out of the corner, and then Porsche does not get any sort of pull with that engine, and he's going to stick behind for now. Really, I'd say the last overtaking opportunity is in the final corner, and that's only if Rush makes a huge mistake. But at the moment, it seems as though he's pretty much got this win in the bag. He has to just take this cautiously. Don't go too wide. Don't let Mr. Pink get a sniff at that gearbox. Very close here. Go too wide. He puts it on the track, and he will have the race win. Mr. Pink is closing, but it won't be enough. The gap is pretty much nothing, and Rush will win the first race of round 5, tier 2 at Snetterton. Game Stopper will get P3, be elevated to P2. Free any incident reporting regarding Mr. Pink's huge 130-second penalty. As you can see, the gap between Mr. Pink and Rush was only 1/10 of a second. Very close. If Mr. Pink got any more slightly better run, and if Rush went a bit deeper, that could have been a very, very heartbreaking race for Rush. As Tamer comes across the line, P4, a very good race for the Audi driver. Pretty much stayed out of trouble, and he will be very happy with that P4. As Dallas now approaching the final corner, he will get P5. With Redeemer also approaching the final corner, he's going to get P6. Here comes Dallas. I believe this will also be Redeemer's final lap. It should be. Yes, it is. So he will get P6 and Dallas will get P5. Oh, P4 with the penalty applied to Mr. Pink. Whether or not that will be kept on or will be removed, we'll have to wait and see until after the race. But that is your podium as it stands. Rush first, Game Stopper second, and Tamer in P3. With 2 Porsches, 4th and 5th, Redeemer 6th. Ardell and Axe did not finish the race, so they do not count. Usually our safety car not make an appearance in this first race, as we have been streaming for 69 minutes. That's good luck in my book. Look at that, the number 72 and 73, first and second. What a coincidence. There will now be about a 3-minute wait time for the next race. Another 2-minute wait for the drivers to get their setups in, and about a 20-second small little formation lap before we go green once again for another 30-minute race. Mr. Drivers are now off to the grid. Oh no! Dallas and Gucci Lucci. Well, Dallas. No, Gucci Lucci's fine, but Dallas did not hit the start button in time. He will be starting from the pits. That is a spanner in the works for sure. Redeemer got disconnected earlier on in the session and was forced to go to the back of the grid. He's trying to get back to his pole position slot. I don't know if you can do that. Where is that? That might be GameStopper, actually. Yeah, that's GameStopper. My apologies. But he's going to start from the back of the grid. Mr. Pink will start from pole right behind him. We'll be going green any moment now. It's up to Rush.
Green light.
With the green
Go, go,
lights
go.
now, we are going green, green, green. GameStopper tries to get ahead of Tamer. Mr. Pink has a clear lead at the moment. GameStopper up the inside of Rush. Don't make contact, boys. Oh, Rush goes really wide. Oh, and he's made contact with Tamer and Redeemer. Oh no, more bad luck for the championship leader. Mr. Pink has a clear lead now ahead of GameStopper in second, Tamer in third. Dallas will come out in last place after starting in the pits. Redeemer is going to be 6th, and that is car 31 of Tamer. Tamer's around. And drop down into P4. That's a big, big way to start the race so far. Top two are now in the distance. Can't even see them. You see Dallas just in the back there. And look at all the damage these three cars have. Rush, Tamer, Redeemer, all with pretty much all have heavy damage. Pretty sure Tamer must have hit the guardrail after that when he spun. And you already saw Redeemer have a big incident with Rush in the second corner. So now it's just Mr. Pink and GameStopper clear out in the lead as that's Tamer going really wide off the track. And will these guys pit? Well, I think Rush is coming into the pits, but Tamer will stay out with Redeemer. So they're hoping for a safety car. Meanwhile, the fight for the lead is getting very spicy. GameStopper trying to get past, trying to defend from Mr. Pink yet again. And we'll just watch this fight for the time being. We're already 3 minutes into this race, 1 lap down. Probably another 16 or so left. It's going to be another very long race for these drivers. The field spread is already pretty big, but as we saw last race, anything can happen. And that's GameStopper going really wide and off the track. He has lost the lead of this race, and he will be hitting himself. Fighting. Oh, there's another side-by-side moment. That is Dallas and Tamer. They're going to try and make it side-by-side. No, Dallas backs out. And like I said earlier, this is a very long race and mistakes will be made. GameStopper has made a huge mistake. Dallas is thinking about a move down the inside, maybe try and get the better run. That's what he's positioning his car for. He's gonna have the better run. Will he have the horses on in that Porsche? I think he will, especially with Tamer having major damage. That's definitely going to be affecting his aero. Maybe have some extra drag on that car. And Dallas swoops past the Audi driver with that heavy damage. Now Dallas is up to 4th place already after starting in the pits. So he's going to be on the hunt for a podium, maybe even the win. As we saw, he was definitely within a shot in the first race until he had some unfortunate events happen to him. Oh, that's Mr. Pink who went wide. That's how GameStar got past him. Oh, that's how GameStop lost their car. Just lost it before even reaching the next corner. Just carried too much speed and that set him into a spin. While we were watching the replay, GameStopper caught right up to Mr. Pink yet again. So Mr. Pink has lost even more time to GameStopper. So a lot of these top two are making quite a few mistakes so far. That's allowed us to have at least one fight in this race. Let's rush into the pits. His race is over. He has given up along with Tamer. Although I think Tamer might be serving his pit stop. We'll have to wait and see. But I would not be surprised if he's giving up. He's had a very unlucky start to the race. Not even 10 minutes in. We're going very wide. It's not going to help me with this corner. Dallas has to get on the brakes early, try and get the better line. I don't think we'll have enough speed to try and make a move here unless Redeemer goes to the pits, which he does. That will release Dallas, get him up into the podium. And now the only fight on track once again is the fight for the lead between Mr. Pink and GameStopper. Final safety car? That's a good question. That is a very good question. You'll have to ask Gucci about that after the race. But in the meantime, we do have the fight for the lead. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Pink starts to pull away based off the pace we saw in the last race and in qualifying. The GameStopper's keeping Mr. Pink on his toes for the time being. Amber's come out the pits now. Coming to the P5, ahead of Redeemer. Whether or not we're not ahead of Redeemer is yet to be decided. We'll have to wait and see. Redeemer is now moving, so I do believe we'll come out clear ahead of Tamer. and will come out in that P4. Crucially, it's already served his pit stop, so we'll be going through the race with Tamer. GameStopper's really starting to lose time to Mr. Pink here. The gap's 1.5 seconds, nearing 2 seconds. But GameStopper's trying his best. He's got to get a podium at this rate, so even if he can't really pressure Mr. Pink right now, they still have another pit stop to do, so that could be very huge implications for the race. The Redeemer in the distance there. Just got off the pits a few seconds ago. Hopefully, for his sake, he does not get lapped. I do think he has the pace to keep ahead of Mr. Pink. The gap is pretty big right now. Pink gets the grasp a bit. Do that too much. I'm sorry. Gladly take up that position in the lead once again. That's GameStopper getting past Mr. Pink. Once again, mistakes creeping in from the Porsche driver. And he has just released GameStopper again into the lead. Thank you for the follow. Pupapino 88. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. What is that? 18 minutes left in this race, the second race of 2 tonight on BRL ACC Tier 2. GameStopper is just gone ahead of Mr. Pink for the lead after Mr. Pink made a pretty costly mistake, but Mr. Pink has shown the pace over GameStopper all race, so really it's only a matter of time before Mr. Pink gets past. Just so much better on the brakes, especially in the second sector. The Porsche is really showing its powers here in the second sector especially. That's where GameStopper coming into this now at the 17-minute mark. Slightly earlier than expected pit stop, I do have to say so. But he obviously wants that undercut, and pitting this early will give him plenty of opportunity to try and get the gap down. And with pretty much having no other rivals near him on track, he will be able to high-pointed career. No, I don't believe Redeemer disconnected against Skeppy. He had contact with Rush early on, huge damage, and then he just pitted early, so that's why he's all the way down in fourth. Just about a lap down. Oh, GameStopper was not, I don't believe he was in the pit stop. Oh, now he's gone. I thought he was reversing to get into the pits. That would have been very unfortunate. Coming out now. Took about 50 seconds in the pits. A minute in the pits. There's Redeemer just behind. A lap down, but still just behind. Mr. Pink comes into the pits responding to GameStopper. That's Dallas coming into the pits as well. Both forces in the pits. Now, Mr. Pink is making his way out of the pits. He will come out quite a ways ahead of GameStopper. That's about 3, maybe 4 seconds. So the undercut did not work for GameStopper at all. Lost about 7 seconds on that lap, so we obviously made a huge mistake somewhere. Yeah, around 3 seconds instead of about 1 second. I don't really. I guess he just wasn't fast on his outlap. He didn't make an actual like huge mistake. But Dallas is came out in P3 with Redeemer still in P4 and Tamer in P5. So no real fights. The closest gap is between Mr. Pink and GameStopper. So we'll just be watching them pound away, doing laps for the next 12 minutes. Should be about another 7, maybe 8 laps. So I guess we'll just watch in awe of the beautiful sounds of ACC. GameStoppers at the blistering lap 49.8, about 8/10 off of Mr. Pink's PB, but still a pretty good lap. So Mr. Pink struggling with those colder tires compared to GameStopper. What is GameStopper's PB? It's a 49.6, so Mr. Pink is faster in terms of personal best, but at this moment GameStopper has the pace. Oh, that's GameStopper. He spun around at the final corner. So another mistake from one of the two leaders. And that allowed Dallas to go right up. The gap between GameStopper and Mr. Pink is now 10 seconds. It was 1 second, and Dallas is only 2 seconds behind. It is now 1-3 for Porsche, same as it was in Tier 1 last night. It could maybe even be a 1-2 with Dallas having the pace over both these drivers in terms of PB. And the race pace consistency isn't too bad either. We'll just watch Dallas see if he can make a move on GameStopper. Dallas goes even faster, improved by 7 tenths of a lap to a 48.5 as his PB. GameStopper's still gaining time, but Mr. Pink gained about 2 seconds on that lap. Meanwhile, Dallas is still closing on GameStopper. GameStopper goes a bit wide, but Dallas goes a bit deep, but he still gains time on the Lexus driver. The gap's only about 4 tenths now. I think Dallas is might be looking for a move quite soon. Oh, it's tough. It's really close to GameStopper. Keeps it out of the wars with the Lexus driver for now. There's 7 minutes left in this session. About probably 4 laps left. As Mr. Pink will cross the line in about 6 or 7 seconds. Minutes and 40 seconds left. Each lap is about 1 minute 50. We're to take 4 or 5 laps left. They're still gaining quite a bit on Mr. Pink. F1 maybe, I might let Dallas through if I was GameStopper, but I also know from past experience, there's a good chance if you're really capturing someone ahead, the guy behind you is like a few tenths, maybe even a second quicker, chances are you're better off just keeping him behind and chasing the guy in front of you. If you can get ahead of the guy in front of you and put a car between you and the guy chasing you, you would definitely benefit. I think that's what GameStopper's thinking right now. Oh, GameStopper makes a huge mistake. Dallas is trying to make a move down the inside, and he will get the move done just about. Yes, he will. And that is now a 1-2 for Porsche. GameStopper P3 and Redeemer 4th. So Porsche 1-2, Lexus 3-4. And now Dallas has been let go to try and catch and maybe even pass Mr. Pink for this win. Hello, Carbon. Nice to see you in the chat, pal. We are just about finishing off the second race of two. Oh, yeah, second race of two, yeah. The second race of tonight was about 4 minutes left. About 2 laps left. And we're currently seeing if Dallas in second to catch his teammate, Mr. Pink, in first. The gap was as big as 12 seconds about 5 laps ago, and now the gap's about 5 seconds, so let's see if Dallas can make a miracle happen and catch Mr. Pink. GameStopper just got overtaken by Dallas a lap ago, and Dallas is still trying to catch Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink crosses the line now. What is the lap time? It's a 1 minute 50 dead. So that will leave us with one more lap after this one, maybe 2. It's going to be very close. No, it should be one more lap after this one. So we 2 laps from the end. Is that Dallas going wide and off the track? Does he have fuel? Oh, he's just getting the car rolling again. He does have fuel. He just went wide, and that has ruined any attempt of him getting that debut win in BRL ACC. Mr. Pink can now relax and pretty much cruise to the end. Replay here of Dallas going wide. Oh, the car just went, drifted a little bit, and he just pulled off to the side. He didn't want to get in the way of GameStopper, so no dramas there between those two, thankfully. But Dallas will be telling himself he could have had that win, maybe at least a second, but he will be sitting P3 for the time being unless he makes a major mistake. Mr. Pink is now coming up to the final corner. He will have one more lap to do. GameStopper is only 4 seconds behind, so he can't make a huge mistake because GameStopper will gladly take that win.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
Mr. Pink has now come across the final corner. He's now going to come to the line to win the second race of race 5 at Snetterton. GameStop will come across first, second, with Dallas not that far behind. He will get third place in about 3 seconds here. 1, 2, 3. That's third place confirmed for Dallas, with Deemer making his way through the third sector to the long right-hander. Now coming up to the final corner, nail the braking, and then just a long shoot to the finish line. He will get that fourth place. Still points for the championship leader. He's been unlucky in both races, but points are points, and he will definitely take that. With Tamer on his debut in P5, been a very quiet race, but he will get a good haul of points as he goes a bit wide in the final corner, just for good measure. Yeah, he will come and get P5 for this race, and that will be it for tonight in ACC Tier 2. As I have to go now, unfortunately, so I will not be able to do the post-race interviews. I do apologize to our podium drivers, but I hope you all enjoyed the stream, and we'll see you next week on Monday, same time, same place.